Thank you, Madam Mayor. So let me start by saying a very simple statement. I oppose phrases like "send her back" in the strongest possible way that I can relay to you. I think it is unconstitutional. I think it's tyrannical. I think it's wrong. And I think if you are out there and you think that's something that's okay to say, don't associate yourself with my Republican Party, and don't associate yourself with the form of government we have here and what's okay. So for those of you looking for someone to call out and say this is not okay, let me be the first to say it. This is not okay. I oppose all forms of hate speech, racism, xenophobia, and bigotry. But now let me take you on a little bit of a side journey here, because don't be mistaken, that is not what we are here doing today. One, this is not a comprehensive list, right? This is a list that we see today, and it is not all forms, it is some forms. And if we want to be in the business of going out and being the sole source of capturing all forms of racism and bigotry and xenophobia, we're going to need more city staff. We're going to need a lot more people that are going to keep a comprehensive list of all of this, because I'm not sure if this is what the voters of Charlotte asked us to do when we ran for city council, but we're not going to be able to just randomly jot things down we hear. We're going to have to take it very seriously and create this comprehensive list. But that brings a second problem to play, right? Once we have that complete list, two, it's hard to determine what's in the hearts of the people that are saying this stuff. So we're going to need another staff of psychologists and people to look and say, well, does that person really mean a racist thing, or are they just saying their opinion in another view? And you know what's so bothersome to me about this is, in this day and age, it feels like the word racism is thrown around a lot like the word witch was in the 1600s.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, you don't like that? Right. I bet not. But in the 1600s, you never knew what motivated the accuser of calling someone a witch, and the accused had a near impossible task in proving that they were not. That seems very similar to how we use the word racism today. And I'm not by any stretch trying to say there aren't people with racism in their heart saying things out there that we are condemning right now. I'm saying, how are we to be the judge of all of that? And isn't it going a little bit too far? But you know what bothers me the most of all of this? How we decide to spend our time as a council. Let me give you a couple of examples for the folks who say, well, you can do more than one thing at once. We have 3 direct reports that report to the city council here. One of those, the city clerk. 25% of the people on this dais couldn't take the time to do a 10-minute survey for her annual review. 25%. Yet this council decided to spend an entire weekend crafting and negotiating this. We're 50 out of 50 in upward mobility. Yet we have spent 0 time almost for the last year focusing around this dais talking about workforce development. Yet we spent hours over the weekend wordsmithing these items. We can't engage the housing and homelessness groups in the affordable housing decision-making process to a level that's acceptable, yet we can sit back here for the last 4 days and come up with the perfect wording that a majority of people are going to be okay with. And the thing that should really have people upset is we have 64 homicides. 51-year-old Matthew Chaplin, 15-year-old Jenna Hewitt, 7-month-old Jade Williams, 27-year-old Kendall Crank, 19-year-old Reed Parlier, 21-year-old Riley Howell, and 58 more people. 58 more people, other than those names I mentioned. Yet we spent 4 days talking about presidential politics at a national level. And finally, Darnell Harris, 48 years old, lost his life last week. Yet around this dais, we couldn't muster up the amount of time, a fraction of which, that we spent this weekend on here. So I have a substitute motion I'd like to change. I'd like to propose that we change the wording to this very simply. Whereas we condemn some forms of racism and xenophobia where it fits our narrative, and in doing so, we are prepared to make assumptions as to what is in the heart of those saying it. Furthermore, we understand when we play outside of our lane, it never ends up well for our city, but nonetheless, we want to directly engage in 2020 presidential campaign politics.